Welcome to Silent Wisdom. This is Muni. Today I'm going to talk about cognitive biases. What are these? Why should I know about them? And how can I stay uninfluenced by them? Cognitive biases, as the name suggests, are biases which are afflictions of the mind and they limit our ability to think correctly. They are so universal that almost inherent in nature. Caused by socio-cultural conditioning, they are so common that almost everybody has them and still unaware of them. They impact the quality of our decision making and definitely the quality of our life. So anyone who becomes aware of these biases and gets rid of them is definitely going to benefit. However, for a spiritual seeker, it is almost indispensable to get rid of them because otherwise they will cause obstacles on the path and limit your spiritual progress. There are many kinds of cognitive biases, but I'm going to share with you here just the 5 very popular ones. The most common cognitive bias is called herd mentality or groupthink or conformity bias. As the name suggests, it is a tendency of the mind to believe what majority of the people think of as the truth. It definitely has an advantage, like it is good for the survival process. If I also believe what the majority believes, then I am accepted as a good organizational or social member. There is harmony with other people and there are lesser conflicts. However, as I said, this is only for survival process. As a spiritual seeker, I am wanting to go beyond the survival process. Yes, I also do want to manage the survival. However, that is secondary. Primary is the spiritual progress. And in that case, if I believe what the majority of the people believe in, then it is definitely not benefiting me. I'll give you a few examples. Like, majority of the people define success as having lots of money or power or position, or what kind of a job you have, or how big your house is, or what kind of car do you drive, or which country do you go to vacations for. On the spiritual path, however, that is not the way success is defined. It has nothing to do with any of those things. So if I am someone who will take social definition or as defined, the definition as given by the majority of the people, then definitely there is going to be a big, big challenge over here. Another common thing is that even for a spiritual seeker, if you are going to choose a guru or a teacher, people are going to ask you, how many followers does this guru have? And if you say, oh, maybe just about 100, so they will kind of look down and say, oh, only 100. But, like this particular guru, he has 10 million followers, okay? And they will kind of take pride even in being the disciple of a guru who's extremely popular. Well, that is fine, absolutely, that you have someone who is so popular, and it's easy to believe that if so many people believe, then this person must be right. But for a spiritual seeker, if you are a serious seeker, I would say, ask yourself, do I have access to this guru? Does he answer my questions? Am I able to share my spiritual progress with him? If the answer is no, then maybe again, this is not the person for you. Another example of conformity, we also call it conformity bias or groupthink, is how intelligence is defined. And why I have picked up intelligence specifically here is because cognitive biases are actually an affliction of the intelligence. Now, commonly, intelligence is considered to be your ability to think, um, uh, think rationally, or have numerical ability or verbal fluency. And we have something called an IQ score, which came out because of the Binet-Simon scale developed in 1900s. And I, being a psychologist myself, I have done many IQ tests for people. Again, IQ has a survival significance, because you need to know who are the right people who can do this job well. So one does an IQ test. But actually, intelligence has nothing to do with any of those things from a spiritual perspective. Intelligence is a very dynamic process, and even putting a measure to intelligence, wanting to measure it, is not being intelligent at all. However, in the social circles, or in the majority of the people, there is a very common belief or common understanding that how intelligent you are, and they will be taking on very limited criteria to measure your intelligence and label you as intelligent or less intelligent or stupid. However, since the criteria itself is not correct, so definitely even the result is not going to be correct for you. So why do I need to know about this herd mentality and conformity bias, and how can I stay uninfluenced by them? Well, as I said, if you have to progress on your spiritual journey, you need to check these biases. You need to check these belief systems for yourself, evaluate them and see, are they working for you? Are these really correct? And are they coming in your path, or are they helping you? And I can assure you, some of these biases would only be coming in your way. And just by becoming aware of them, you can rise above many of those biases. Something very close to this herd mentality is something called an authority bias. As the name suggests, authority bias is an inclination for us to believe in people who are famous, or who have authority, or who are in senior positions, and considered what they are saying to be the truth. If there is a famous film star who says that this is the approach one should be taking, or a product that he is selling, then people do tend to follow that. And that is what advertisers and marketers are using. If you see, most of the film stars and cricketers are selling products, because we believe that if they are using this, then it is the right product for us. And actually, I would like to share something about the authority bias here, since we are talking about film stars. So I have a friend who is a big Amir Khan fan. And she earlier was following an approach of bringing her children and telling them that they have to take science and they have to become an engineer or a doctor. And once this Three Idiots was released, where Amir Khan is telling them that they should allow the children to choose what subject interests them. So she kind of changed her approach. She said, oh, influenced by Amir Khan. Now, the funny thing happened that when Dangal came, and in Dangal, the same Amir Khan is pushing his daughters to become wrestlers. And this woman talked to me and said, oh my God, now again, I allowed my children to do whatever, and I really don't know what I should be doing. How should I be bringing my children based on Three Idiots, or should I be bringing them on basis the movie Dangal? You get the message, what I'm trying to say over here. So this is what authority bias does to you. What it shows is that people do not have the ability to think for themselves. And so they look for people in positions or famous figures to tell them how should they be conducting their life. But for a spiritual seeker, that's a complete no. You have to choose, you have to decide how you are going to live your life, not people in authority. The third popular bias is called framing effect. Framing is how do you present an idea? It has a major impact on how that idea would be presented. To give you an example, if there are two paintings, one painting is average and one painting is below average. On an average painting, you put a below average frame, but on a below average painting, you put a very nice frame. Which painting do you think people are going to buy? Which will be the preferred painting to buy? Yes, it is going to be the one with a better frame. And that is what businessmen today or the marketing people have understood. And you would know that most people, most businesses focus more on the packaging of the product than the product itself. So what is happening over here is similarly how an idea, who is presenting and how well, with what kind of positive words, what kind of a presentation it is, that people give more importance to than actually the product itself. So it is, and this can even happen on spiritual path, right? How something is being presented to you. So you need to be very wary of this and be aware. Another important bias is something called selective perception. We all do this some or the other time. Selective perception is about choosing to focus on that information which supports your belief system. So there could be a pile of data and facts. However, we all have a tendency to look at only that information which matches with our existing beliefs. So for example, if I do not like a person, then I will only notice what is not right about the person. And even if that person is doing some good things, I am less likely to see them. I'm not even going to remember those things. And we see this all the time, isn't it? We do this, and even for other people, when we are talking to them, we are able to actually catch that bias. But it's not about other people. We have to be aware of our own bias and be more objective and rational and broader in our thinking or when we are presented with data. The last cognitive bias that I'm going to talk about is something called Dunning-Kruger effect. And this is a tendency for an incompetent person to believe that he is very competent. What we say in simple words, I don't know, but I don't know that I don't know. And we all know people like that. And if such kind of a person is your boss or a person in authority, or maybe a senior member of the family, then, and if you are a spiritual seeker, I would suggest to stay away from such people. And also be aware in case you have a tendency to be like that. It actually is a defense mechanism, what we call in psychology, because people who are average or with average intelligence or who have an inferiority complex, they tend to hide it by thinking, oh, I'm very good. They kind of affirm it, they kind of repeat it in their mind, and they start actually believing that they are competent. Sometimes it may also happen that they are not intelligent enough to realize that they are incompetent. So, as I said, how to stay uninfluenced by these biases? even becoming aware of them can help you to identify them and understand them as they will appear in your behavior. And of course, they are much easier to observe in the behavior of others. But here, since we are on the spiritual path, it is more about finding my own biases and staying away from them or staying above them as far as possible. This will definitely improve the quality of your decision making and your life, and you will progress in your spiritual journey. I hope these helped you. Thank you so much for listening, and I will see you very soon again.
Oh